You know what they say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Hey there, I'm Angie, and today we're counting 4 hitmen who killed the wrong person. Number 1. In January 2018, Ishnar Marie Lopez, age 35, was upset that a man she loved was in a relationship with another woman. So, she hired Alexis Ramos, age 35, and his girlfriend, Gloria Marie Montes, age 22, to kill the woman. Gibson said the couple tracked down a woman they believed to be the target as she left a rose dress for less store at a mall in Kissimmee, near Orlando, on Sunday night. They followed Janice Torres home and forced her into the back of her car. They drove her to an apartment in Orlando. They eventually realized they had the wrong person. However, the hitman couple continued with their plan of murder and tied the victim with zip ties and then covered her head in duct tape and garbage bags. Then, they beat the woman, who suffocated because of the garbage bags on her head. They drove the woman's vehicle to Ormond Beach on Florida's Atlantic coast, either Sunday night or early Monday. They dumped her body, and cable workers found it on Monday morning. Torres' family reported her missing. Lopez, the woman who arranged the plot, was arrested on Friday when she tried to use an ATM card. Ramos and his girlfriend were later arrested at a hotel near Orlando. All 3 confessed. All 3 suspects, originally from Puerto Rico, had recently relocated to Central Florida around Christmas. They were booked on murder charges into the Ocala County Jail. Number 2. For years, Rosebrook, a suspected mastermind behind a notorious car theft operation in northeastern Ohio, had slipped through authorities' fingers. It wasn't until the mid-2000s that police were able to nab him for running a criminal enterprise. He may have worried an associate who testified against him. In any case, police said Rosebrook hired a hitman to take him out, but instead, that hitman went to authorities, so Rosebrook went to prison. While serving a 10-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder, Rosebrook hired another hitman to kill the hitman who raided him out. But his new hired gun hunted down, shot, and killed the wrong person, a 31-year-old man with no connections to Rosebrook or his crime. This story, prosecutors said, is tragically true. After more than a decade, Rosebrook was convicted of aggravated murder, among other charges, in the 2006 mistaken identity murder of the man. One early morning in May 2006, Rosebrook's hitman, Chad South, disguised in camouflage and a ski mask, invaded the home Daniel Ott shared with his girlfriend in Barton Township, Ohio. Daniel Ott was killed in 2006. The couple were preparing to move to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where Ott, who worked in horticulture, had accepted a job. South realized he had the wrong man. The other, Daniel Ott, was more than twice his age. South, armed with a shotgun, started shouting at Ott's girlfriend, telling her to lie down and be quiet. South duct-taped Ott to a chair and tried to flee the scene, but Ott broke free and the two started to struggle. Minutes later, Ott was shot in the chest and he died that morning at a hospital. Rosebrook was released from prison in 2014, then arrested again the next year when 3 men were involved in Ott's killing: Rosebrook, his hitman, and his brother Carl, Jeff Rosebrook, who authorities say was a money man. At trial, Rosebrook's attorney, Henry Hillo, claimed that the prosecution had not presented any evidence connecting Rosebrook to the crime. That's where authorities said he met South and hired him to kill Daniel Ott. 2 inmates testified that Rosebrook agreed to pay South $10,000 up front and another $10,000 after the murder. Rosebrook's brother Jeff would handle the cash. Rosebrook was found guilty of aggravated murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. Rosebrook's brother Jeff will face his own trial. South was convicted earlier this year of murder and kidnapping and sentenced to a minimum of 28 years behind bars. Number 3. Mary Lou Morris was a 48-year-old law and officer at a Chase Bank in Houston, Texas. She was happily married to Jay Morris and was loved by many others. On the morning of October 12, 2000, Mary Lou said goodbye to her husband and left for work. Throughout the day, Jay tried to call her, but she never answered or returned any of his calls. This was unusual of Mary Lou, so Jay began to worry. At around 5 p.m., he called her supervisor. Alarmingly, they told Jay she hadn't come into work that morning and wasn't picking up their calls either. Jay knew something was wrong and immediately reported his wife missing. Around the same time Jay called the police, a man who had been driving down the highway reported a smoldering car near the road, not even 3 miles from Mary Lou and Jay's home. Earlier that day, at around 10 a.m., someone had called the police and reported seeing smoke in that area. The fire department didn't take action as they believed it was a controlled burn. When police arrived, they saw a body in the driver's seat. It had been drenched in gasoline and set on fire. As a result, it was unrecognizable. They did, however, find a tooth, which led to the body being confirmed as Mary Lou. It wasn't possible to establish a cause of death as the fire destroyed any evidence. Despite other valuables being in the car, only Mary Lou's wedding ring and purse were missing. The day after Mary Lou's death, the Houston Chronicle received a bizarre call. The man on the other end said that they got the wrong Mary Morris. It all made sense 3 days later. Mary McGinnis Morris was a 39-year-old nurse practitioner. She had a successful career working for a major industrial corporation and was in charge of various clinics. She was married to Mike Morris, had a daughter, and also lived in Houston, Texas. She loved her job and got along with her work colleagues. However, there was one exception. One of the newer employees in her staff, Dwayne Young, made her feel very nervous. She even told one of her best friends, Lori Gemmell, that she was certain he was capable of harming her. According to Gemmell, Mary McGinnis once found her desk unorganized, and her picture frames faced the opposite direction, with death to her written on a piece of paper. Mary McGinnis was positive it had been Dwayne. On October 16, 2000, Mary called her friend Lori. While she was in a drugstore, she told Lori she was creeped out by someone at the store. 12 minutes later, a terrifying call was made to the police. This call has never been released, as it contains Mary McGinnis being attacked, which had been deemed too disturbing to be public. Mary McGinnis was later found in her car. She had been beaten and shot in the head. The killer had tried to make it seem like it was a suicide by placing the gun on the passenger seat next to her. What most people think happened is that a hitman killed both women. Supposedly, a hitman was hired to kill Mary McGinnis Morris, but accidentally killed Mary Lou Morris. This explains how 2 women with so many characteristics in common were murdered 3 days apart. It would also explain how a seemingly unproblematic person like Mary Lou would be murdered. Unlike her, Mary McGinnis was going through a rough patch with her husband. As a result, the main suspect is Mike Morris, who is believed to be the one who hired a hitman. Number 4. Carlita Phillips and her husband, Dale Phillips Jr., weren't on good terms, to put it mildly. The South Carolina couple's marriage was over. They had separated in 2013 and were awaiting a divorce, but just splitting from her soon-to-be ex-husband wasn't good enough for Carlita. She wanted him out of the way. According to the testimony at her trial, Phillips, who then was 39 years old, was having an affair with a 16-year-old boy in March of 2013. But the relationship was more than just sexual. She trusted her young lover, Tavir Settles, to take care of her domestic issue as well. In fact, she offered the teen $30,000 to gun down Dale Phillips Jr. And where would she get $30,000? Turns out, her estranged husband's employer offered a life insurance policy on Dale, a policy that would pay his not-so-grieving widow a cool $500,000 in the event of Dale's unfortunate demise. Carlita Phillips of Greenwood, South Carolina, also took out her own $25,000 life insurance policy on her husband after they had already separated, but just a couple of months before she hired her 16-year-old boyfriend to kill him. The jury at Carlita Phillips' trial heard that the seeming wife not only offered to pay Settles to murder her husband, she actually drove the getaway car at the crime scene when Settles opened fire at the home of Dale Phillips' parents in Abbeville, South Carolina, on March 25, 2013. But tragically and incredibly, the man who Settles shot 3 times was not Dale Phillips Jr., was his brother, Carlita Phillips' brother-in-law, 31-year-old Jamal Omar Phillips, who had recently moved back to his parents' home from North Carolina. Jamal Phillips died on his parents' front porch even before sheriff's deputies arrived on the scene, just 7 minutes after his horrified parents heard the shots and immediately called the police. Judge Frank Addy Jr. immediately sentenced the now ex-wife of Dale Phillips Jr. to a life sentence behind bars. In a similar case in December of last year, a wife in Florida was accused of offering a hitman the title to a pizza delivery van if he could kill her husband. In that case, however, the hitman was an undercover police officer who arrested the woman. Carlita Phillips and her teen lover turned hitman, Tavir Settles, wasn't arrested until December of 2013. Settles was sentenced to 45 years for that murder in April of that year.